I wrote a piece in the Spectator in the UK in support of gay marriage before it was popular to be in support of gay marriage, and explained what I regard as being the conservative case for it, which was an article which David Cameron used as a basis for his first main speech on the issue. I defend it as a right, but I also am worried by, and have been worried for a long time, by the extraordinary intolerance of elements of the so-called gay community, which I say so-called because there is no such thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
So this is one of the interesting aspects of this. There must be, there are a lot of gay people who don't want to be defined by their sexuality.
Well, just
they
like,
are a whole heap of other things.
Yeah.
They're citizens, they might be Boilermakers, they might be city executives or what have you. But suddenly there's an insistence that they define themselves.
Yeah, and this has come in very recently, and it's come in each of the ones I describe, and it's a basis for madness. When people say the gay community, who are you talking about? It's like, women think this. Oh, really? 50% of the species all agree on something. Blacks say this. Really? Now, this is, let me put it another way. If somebody said, I don't know, I just love the working class. Who?
Yeah.
I just love the middle class. Who? I love the upper class. Who are you talking about? And it's the same with this. Why would we be falling for this interpretation of society as depending solely or primarily on interest groups based on gender/sex, sexual orientation, race, and a bit more? Why would we be doing that? Why would we be taking the individualism out of individuals and lumping them in these demonstrably incoherent bodies that don't even exist? They don't even exist. The LGBT community. Take me to your leader. Come on.
I suppose in a way, in public office, the thing that would have struck me about so much of this is that it actually ends up dividing us hopelessly. Yes. So we're forever focusing on our differences, on the things that divide us as citizens, rather than the things that unite us and that we have in common.
What if that's the point?
Well,
what if that's the point?
Yeah. So that's your second chapter is really on
the Marxist.
On the Marxist
yes.
thing. Now, this pulling together of disparate groups who have grievances that can be stoked and sort of, if you like, used as battering rams for political objectives, often without them probably even realising that in a sense they're being used, that perhaps they're the modern version of Lenin's useful idiots.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a pattern in all of this. As I say in that chapter, you can see the intellectual underpinnings. And they come from this idea that it's a Marxist idea, but it's just transferred to the modern era, where instead of talking about society in class structures, you talk about it in minority interest group structures. And you lump people like this. What is the primary aim of this? Among other things, it is a different interpretation of society, which is therefore intended to segregate and pull apart societies as you and I might understand them. So that people's primary affiliation is not that I'm an Australian, or I'm British, but I'm a member of the LGBT community in the Greater Sydney area, for instance. You can predict with 100% accuracy the people who encourage this, the people who will grab the latest claim by an interest group and run with it. And it is always people who, in the past, had another way of trying to attack our societies, had a radical Marxist view of the world, for instance. We know this with the green issue, where, and again, like the rights issues I write about in this book, they succeed because they're not onto nothing, The green movement is onto something with the environment and with our planet. But it has this hideous red interior which keeps exposing itself as desiring not a better relationship between ourselves and our environment, but, for instance, the end of capitalism.
Yeah.
And it's the same with this. I expose in each of the chapters that the people who make it repeatedly and desperately plain, that they believe, for instance, that being a woman should be merely the first step in a wider mission to bring down capitalism. Now, I don't think most women are on board with that, and most women would be rather surprised to be utilized in this fashion. But that is very clearly and explicitly, and I quote the various scholars and writers who've been pushing this for years, this is explicitly the aim. And it's why, as I say, you can always predict exactly who is going to latch onto the latest claim. When, for instance, the big bearded man with male genitalia wins the women's weightlifting competition, you can predict with 100% accuracy who is going to say, yeah, what's the problem with that? And the people who are going to say, I'm not sure Clive, the big weightlifter, should be winning the women's category. You can predict it. And the people who say, why have you got a problem with that, bigot, are always the same people who believed in the past that our societies needed to be pulled apart in another fashion. And now they'd like to do it in this fashion.